Ever since the outbreak of coronavirus has become a global pandemic, it has badly affected many businesses from various sectors, one of the worst being aviation industry. I myself experienced the feeling of job insecurities, and even some of my friends got laid off during this difficult time. As an aircraft engineering graduate, today, let us discuss what are the chances of being contracted with the virus during flights. The million-dollar question is it really safe to fly? Before we dig deep into this question, let us remind ourselves how is the virus transmitted. First risk is direct transmission. Droplets from an infected person's sneeze, cough, or when they talk will directly infect the others. Second risk is airborne transmission. Basically, the virus from an infected person's sneeze, cough will mix with the air particles and become droplet nuclei, and eventually transmit through air. Third risk is by touching contaminated surface. When a person touches a contaminated surface, he or she will then be infected by touching their nose, mouth, or eyes. When we were discussing about the second transmission risk, the first thing that comes into our mind is that the cabin air in the aircraft is enclosed, it is not ventilated. For that reason, we could easily get infected during those long-haul flights. Well, that's not the case. According to World Health Organization (WHO), the recirculation of cabin air does not help with the transmission of infectious disease on board. They also stated that half of the cabin air is filtered and mixed with the outside air before it distributes to the cabin. The filter used for air conditioning in the aircraft is HEPA. Well, which is actually quite HEPA. I will explain it further in this video. Now, let us analyze the principle of air recirculation system in the aircraft from the perspective of aircraft engineering. Do not worry, let's keep it nice and simple. Some of you might think that WHO can't even cope with the current situation. Did they state that just to keep the world's economy running? Well, that's not the case, and we really did study about this subject matter during our course. To keep it simple, there are two sources of air that makes up the cabin air. 50% of it being fresh air, and the other 50% would be recirculated air. 50% of fresh air comes from the atmosphere. Just imagine, we are flying up above the sky at 35,000 feet. The air in the atmosphere is very thin, but it is unquestionably zero pollution, and definitely cleaner than Then, fresh air is compressed by the engines and distributed into the cabin. As for the other 50%, recirculated air passes through a filtration system, which includes a filter known as HEPA, High Efficiency Particulate Air, before being introduced back to the cabin. HEPA filter has the efficiency of 99.97%, filtering particles with 0.3 microns diameter. So what does it mean? Coronavirus itself has a diameter of 0.125 microns. Does this mean that it can pass through the HEPA filter? Well, you're wrong again. The virus itself mainly travels in the form of droplet nuclei, as we mentioned earlier. That is a mixture of virus and air particles, and the diameter of a droplet nuclei is 0.5 microns. So eventually, the virus would still be filtered by HEPA. According to NASA's research, they even experimented that HEPA could filter particles with diameter lesser than 0.1 microns. To summarize it, basically at every instance, 50% of the cabin air will be recirculated through HEPA filter, while the other 50% will be dumped out to the atmosphere, and at the same time, fresh air will be taken in. Mathematically saying, every 2 to 3 minutes, all air is renewed, which means 20 to 30 times per hour, the air around you in the cabin is completely renewed. In comparison, in most buildings where we work with air conditioning system are generally at around 4 times per hour only. Also, there is no HEPA filter. So in conclusion, the aircraft cabin air is way cleaner than most of our normal working office and restaurants. On the other hand, all airlines around the world have taken safety measures to ensure the cleanliness of the cabin. Let's take AirAsia as an example. Every night stop, their aircraft will go through a thorough 2 hours deep cleaning process in compliance with instructions from the health authorities. While all airlines and health authorities have done their part, let's have a friendly reminder for all of us to take part in our responsibilities as well. Number 1. Wear a face mask. Number 2. Have a personal hand sanitizer, preferably 100 ml to bring on board. Number 3. Wear a pair of disposable gloves. Number 4. Avoid touching any part of your face. If you do feel like it, sanitize your hands thoroughly before touching your face. Here are 2 bonus tips for you while you are flying. Number 1. Your gloves are always dirty. Imagine, you just had an amazing meal of tomato sauce seafood with the gloves on. And oh my gosh, those gloves you're wearing are super oily and dirty. Just by touching your face, Mr. Pimples with white hat will instantly pay a visit to your face. Number 2. Shut off the aircon outlet above you. Reason being, when the aircon is blowing at your direction, it will create the suction path and direct the air in the close surrounding towards you. Then the air goes back to the filtration system or vents out to the atmosphere. This phenomenon is called the Venturi effect, which could possibly bring the virus to you. By shutting off the aircon outlet, we allow the surrounding air go straight back to the filtration system or vents out from the aircraft. To come to the point, by following the methods and suggestions, all 3 transmission ways of the virus as mentioned before can finally be prevented effectively. So, is it really safe to fly during this pandemic? In my opinion, there won't be any problem as long as all of us take proper preventive measures. I know the year 2020 is not how we expected so far, but I wish you all nothing but the best. Keep yourself healthy, have a pleasant and safe journey. I hope this video has helped you in any way. If it did, just share it with your friends and families. What comes around goes around. Share it out and let the good things pass around. Peace out.